controversial position, but I think we should arrest axe murderers when they first attempt to
That is controversial to the left. That is controversial.
Murder, not after they've succeeded in doing so.
Guys, I go to watch this interview to analyze it because it is one of the most important conversations of this century. And trust me when I say history is going to replay this. And what do I find when I go to watch it? I watched this last night. Overnight, it's been taken down. YouTube has taken down. Last night, it had 12,000 views. Now it's at 145,000 views from 15 hours ago. YouTube took it down because they are trying to silence speech that would result in a Kamala Harris defeat. This is especially made pathetic by the fact that you can find this on Rumble, you can find this on X. The reason this is so important is it denotes a fundamental separation in existence between those who hate reality, are fundamentally broken to their core, or possessed by something that is, and are at war with truth, coherence, objectivism, coherent individualism, meritocracy, reason, objectivism, in other words, all forms of truth. And they are warring despotically against the class of people who organize themselves and their psyches around a sense of individualism, competence, who wish to take part in a thriving civilization built on merit, logic, coherence, morality, objectivism, and build and live in a future that gets to bask in the light of all those things, including justice, freedom, etc. The stakes are actually this high. I predicted that the left would become so incoherent, so disconnected with reality, so immoral, so warring with civilization right before the election. We're a month away. I can only imagine the insanity that we're going to witness come November. But we're already at a place where the left is openly incompetent and proud of it, saying we should deport the most impressive people in America, including Elon Musk, who has accomplished what NASA couldn't accomplish, providing internet to the globe, including disaster zones, which the federal government has failed to protect, and of course has the most valuable car company on the face of the planet. But no, they don't want to deport violent immigrants or enforce laws on theft.
They can get a green card, and then 5 years after the green card, they can get citizenship and they can fully legally vote. And when they do so, they vote overwhelmingly Democrat. And sometimes I get this rebuttal of like, well, a lot of them, their social values don't align with sort of the far left sort of woke ideology.
Yeah.
I said that's true, but that's not their top priority. The Dems also issue all these programs, these sort of handouts, essentially, that make them beholden to the Democratic Party. So they vote Dem.
Again, the handouts are an attempt to circumvent meritocracy, give people things for free, and reinforce in them the idea that you can remain anti-meritocratic as you've crossed the border illegally, so long as you adhere to our party no matter what. You don't have to do thinking. You just have to abide in our identitarianism.
Of a Dem administration, they will legalize so many illegals that are there that the next election there won't be any swing states, and we'll be a single party country, just like California is a single party state.
And this is their ambition because they can't debate things objectively and coherently. This is their ambition because all they believe in is power, not competence, obviously. In fact, they can't stand competence and are enraged by symbols of it, which is why they hate all of the most impressive men in the world.
It's a supermajority Dem state in California.
Because of immigration.
Yes, it's supermajority Dem. The California legislature is more than 2/3 Democrat. California just passed, which is shocking. It's hard to believe this is even real, but California just passed a law making it illegal to require voter ID in any election at all in California.
So you need an ID to book a air flight. You need an ID to book a hotel. You need an ID to get a library card. You need an ID to use a bank. You need an ID to drive. But the left is so petrified of justice, of coherence, of merit, of truth. And really what it is people being able to point at what they're doing and say, this is not derivative of merit, of coherence, of anything good. They're saying, you can't judge us for our totally crippled worldview because you can't even prove who's voting and who's not.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Newsom signed it into law last week.
It's illegal to require an ID.
In any election, even a town council. And a friend of mine who thought who lives in Palo Alto was like, is this actually real? And
right. Well, we're reaching a level of madness because as the most impressive men and all people who embody truth are coming together to defend reality, morality, objectivism, justice, coherence, and sanity, so too is the left going insane and reaching fever pitches of their resentment for all of those things which I just listed.
And he went to vote in some city council election. He tried to show them his ID, and they said, we're not even allowed to look at your ID.
This is insane.
Have they extended this same...
Actually what's going on right now.
But
By the way,
you-
they're proud of it. They're not hiding it.
But
And
it's
also law.
only
It's
voting.
not-
It's not buying a gun or buying liquor or buying a pack of cigarettes or flying on an airplane or renting a hotel room. It's only voting that it's illegal to do.
Oh, if you try to buy a gun, I mean,
You can't buy a bottle of alcohol without showing your ID, guys.
and the same people that demanded vaccine IDs for if you want to travel or do anything are the same
Wow.
ones who say no voter ID is required.
Is there any reason
Obviously hypocritical.
to pass a law?
Right. Well, they're identitarian. It is good versus evil. And the reason why YouTube took this down is because they know that this would sway a lot of people, but also enrage their own base by reminding them that they're not on the side of truth. Because what this is doing is Socratically calling them out as frauds over and over and over again. Insane frauds, as a matter of fact.
Law like that, except to abet voter fraud.
It's so that fraud cannot be proven. So it enables.
Right. Well, the notion of fraud, so the left would disagree with that because they don't believe in the notion of fraud, because they don't believe in categories of better and worse, of truth and untruth. To them, there is no such thing as distinctions based on anything that reflects objective reality, because objective reality is oppression. So they don't actually see the difference between a person who can barely feed themselves and is riddled by resentment, depression, and mental illness, and Elon Musk, who has done what NASA couldn't accomplish. This is how you see people on X calling him a loser while barely being able to feed themselves, and yet still calling him a loser on a platform he owns. Because categories of distinction themselves are, as far as they're concerned, a manifestation of the corrupt patriarchy, which is tyrannical and predatory. That's an inside track to the way the leftist mind works. I spent time around these people. I know how they operate.
large-scale fraud and no way to prove it, because how would you prove it?
They get enraged when you even talk about the symmetry, the architecture of truth, because it reminds them that truth doesn't exist, and you're also engaging in a conversation which excludes them. Think about it. Since they demonize truth as objective, and you talk about something objective, anytime you talk about anything that reflects reality, you're talking about something that doesn't include them, that has no room for the way they organize their ideas, their minds, their psyches. The things that they say have no structural relationship to anything derivative of reality itself. And so when you talk about, well, anything, but in this case, people that should be able to vote and should not be able to vote based on laws which are derivative of justice, which is derivative of objective morality. And so you're already engaging in 4 levels of analysis which they find untenable and oppressive.
But it's literally impossible. No ID. You're not even allowed to show your ID. It's insane.
Well, it is insane.
Insane.
Everyone knows it's insane. That's why YouTube took this video down.
So, yeah.
Just a conversation that's being organized Socratically.
The purpose of no voter ID is obviously to conduct fraud in elections. Obviously.
There can be no other explanation.
I mean, they come up with some nice sounding thing.
People don't have IDs. Could you live in this country without an ID?
Yeah, I mean,
No.
their common rebuttal is like it's racist to require ID.
That is the most racist thing a person could say. I wish a liberal would say that in front of me so I can be like, are you saying Mexican people are, and black people are too incompetent to get a voter ID, to get a library card, to buy a bottle of alcohol, to book an air flight, to get a hotel room, to go to a movie theater? Like, these people, but the thing is remember, guys, the left was the party of slavery. Things haven't changed. Actually, what's changed is their gaslighting. But them relying on power and identitarianism and not debating ideas has not changed.
And which is insane. I think it's actually racist and patronizing to say that people can't figure out how to get ID. Obviously.
But how could you
who
live here without an ID? I don't think it's even
you can't.
possible. Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Yeah.
You need ID for everything. Like the list of the things you need ID for is basically everything, except voting.
So you see the rest of the
It's
country,
total bullshit, obviously.
but that doesn't in any way minimize the aggression or self-righteousness they bring to this conversation.
Right, because
Yeah.
they can speak on behalf of those who they deem to be victims and under their care. Under their care in a very, very perverse, motherly sense, sort of like an Oedipal mother complex where, my baby can't speak for itself. My baby can't step into the real world by itself. We rely on identitarianism for safety, so we must be tyrannical. We must be corrupt. We must reject the parameters of objectivity which reveal us to be totally incoherent and corrupt. But this is the way they operate, and this is the way they treat any person who's under their care, and in exchange, that person, for giving up their individualism, can be awarded counterfeit virtue, an identity which has fake hero status, because you just repeat the right lines and you're a good person according to them.
You're a racist if you want that.
This is one of the most important conversations of the century.
Right. Whereas, in fact, obviously, someone is racist if they say that people of a particular race cannot get ID. That's patronizing and racist. That's absurd.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it's like when the governor of New York said people in the, ghetto don't know how to use computers or something like that. I mean, super out of touch.
Yeah.
Really disgusting.
Yeah.
So
It's like, hello.
so there's a really
Dude, they are literally the party of racism. Organized industrial racism. At this point, the left, is the regime. We're fighting against the regime. They are trying to institutionalize racism. Which is crazy. Dude, the right is fighting against institutional racism.
clear
Maybe
template.
she doesn't know how to use computers, but they do, obviously. So there are only 6 states out of 50 right now that are in contention. So if those 6 states that are in contention by narrow margins are no longer in contention, then the only contest will be for who wins the Democratic primary.
That's what they want, right?
That's how it is in California. That's how it is in...
They don't believe they should have to debate or contend with other people based on logic and reason. They view that as an inconvenience and actually an insult to their ideology, because it's a subtle reminder that everything they have structured their ideology around is built on a false presupposition.
Kamala, who no one voted for, even in the Democratic primary,
Right.
Yes.
where's the democracy here?
They don't believe in democracy, but see in front of you, visibly and crystally clear manifested, the way they view the world. They have disdain for the American people. They have disdain for democracy.
Well, it's easier though.
I mean, it's just that the Dem Party elite just decides
Yes.
who is in charge.
The Democrat
That's
Party elite.
that's
right. I spent time around these people, guys. They think they're better than you, and I that's really an understatement. These people, you can't really fathom how much better they think they are than everybody. They think they should be able to rule society because they know better. They do not believe in democracy whatsoever, and I think it's because they've lived in this ethos, which is anti-morality for so long. California is very, on average, anti-morality, anti-authority, outside of the whims and perverse wishes of the individual. And so California has fostered basically total moral bankruptcy.
so-called billionaires are in the Dem camp, more than are in the Republican camp.
Oh, for sure.
Which is wild. So in fact, the astonishing thing in the swing
We're
states
literally the party of the people.
is that that they're even a contest, given that the Dems have far more money than the Republicans. The media is overwhelmingly pro-Democrat.
Yeah, they're a co-opted arm of the left at this point. They're just nonstop leftist propaganda.
So you've got,
And here we are 1 month before the election, and that's totally undeniable. And as a matter of fact, an MSNBC exec was captured on camera by Project Veritas as admitting that. So, and then they went and did a broadcast the next day about how Kamala good, Trump bad,
the press, is a Dem cheering squad. And then you've got also almost all the Hollywood and entertainment, the celebrities, also, endorsing Kamala.
That's in California. They are owned.
And being pro-Dem.
Why do
So
you-
you got the celebrities, they got the money, they got basically everything on the side of the Dems.
It's so crazy that this video was taken
The
down.
Republicans, the underdog.
What does that tell you?
It tells me that if people actually knew what was going on, they weren't being fed nonstop propaganda, it would be a landslide in favor of Republicans.
But people care about you. Like, why even get involved in this?
Well, because I think we want to remain a democracy, and we don't want to become a one-party state.
Right.
Yes.
Things are that
That's the
serious.
reason.
Things are that serious.
And it's the exact opposite. The people call Trump a threat to democracy. And the people who are saying Trump's a threat to democracy.
They avert reality at every chance they have because they believe they're above reality. This is what their ideology tells them. If done properly according to what their ideology deems proper, everything they say would be an inversion of truth. And everything they do would be an inversion of virtue.
Are themselves the
What is that called?
threat to democracy.
Yeah.
That's called serving Satan.
One-party rule is not democracy. One party where essentially the party elite pick a candidate, as happened with Kamala, is not democracy. Where did the people vote? Show me where the people voted. No, there were no
They
people.
don't believe in the concept of voting, and they don't believe in the concept of people, because individuals don't exist as far as postmodern neo-Marxism is concerned.
People voting. It was all just
And voting is, again, untenable and a reminder that objective reality exists.
Dem party elite
Inconvenient and triggering.
that just appointed someone. And when the Biden puppet, when the pro-Biden puppets ratings sagged, they knifed him in the back immediately and just tossed him out and put a new puppet on.
Very eerie pictures being painted.
That's exactly what happened. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, not only are you right, I mean, it's almost not even worth criticizing Kamala Harris.
No, exactly.
What does she have to do with it?
There's no point in criticizing Kamala. She's
Right. She doesn't believe anything she says. She doesn't actually believe in the concept of ideas representing truth. Everything she says out loud is a reflection of the ideology's commands. And the ideology's commands, as far as they're concerned, are beyond scrutiny, because scrutiny itself is oppressive. So they're engaging in a totally different game from us. Also, of course, she's just a figurehead for an anti-human agenda.
The face of a much larger machine.
Yes.
And she will say whatever the teleprompter, whatever's on the teleprompter, she's going to say it.
Yes.
Now she gets stuck if the teleprompter breaks. That happened recently, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
The teleprompter stalled, and she was just like looping for a while, for about a minute.
Like a broken robot.
But she'll just say whatever words are on the teleprompter. So, it's really whoever controls the teleprompter is the actual sort of that's who's actually in charge.
And who is that, do you think?
Well, I've tried to pin it down. It's not like any one kind of mastermind. It's not like it seems to be. It's like Kamala's sort of a marionette with 1,000 puppet masters type of thing. Like not it's.
This is where we must understand that the ideology of Marxism possesses people. It makes them rigid, unthinking, anti-intellectual, broken people.
Or maybe it's somewhere north of 100 is what it seems like.
Yes. I bet you know 80 of them.
I probably know most of them, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just by virtue of your job and what you've been doing for the last 30 years, I mean,
Yeah.
And I should say, I think you voted for Biden.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, call it the top 100 puppet masters on the FD client list.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Strong overlap.
This is where they're petrified.
Strong overlap.
When are we going to see that list, do you think?
I don't know. It's mind blowing that they've not tried to prosecute even one, not even the worst offender on the Epstein client list. They've not even tried to prosecute even one.
This entire framework of logic and reason that we're engaging on is alien to them.
That's insane.
Well, because they have a lot of diabetic grandmothers who were outside the Capitol on January 6th. They're kind of occupied.
Yeah, I mean they've put like whatever, 500 or 600 January 6th protesters in prison, and not one person on the Epstein client list.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
I think part of why Kamala's getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
It's good versus evil.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah.
Right, because they have the only way they can be truly destroyed, have their lives destroyed, is something like that happening.
Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's the open AI guy. That's the Chat GPT guy.
And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
Elon just... Bro, oh my gosh.
And I only ask that because you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yes. Reid Hoffman was my vice president of business development at PayPal.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
Dude, Elon just sunned that guy. Yeah, he was my vice president of development.
Does he seem nervous to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's terrified of a Trump victory.
Because of the disclosure that would follow?
I think
He's ideologically aligned with the party of weak, effeminate men, which is, of course, the left, given that they are ruled by the feminine psychological distribution. The disdain for reality, the hatred for objectivism, the hatred for masculinity and embodied competence and excellence and objectivism, because all those things reference reality.
He's certainly ideologically not aligned with Trump anyway, but I think he is concerned about the Epstein situation.
Never before have people spoken truth against a machine that was so hell-bent on silencing them.
Like something the DOJ might actually move forward.
There are a lot of videos, apparently. Those rooms on the island, and I think out in New Mexico, were wired for video.
Right.
And
where's the video? I mean, between Diddy and Epstein, there's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
All of Hollywood would go down. Every celebrity, every person that they used to get tiny bits of power, and overall massive amounts of power, would be taken down. All of their tools would be smashed to pieces. That's what they're afraid of, as well as, of course, on an individual level being exposed.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that the people on those videos are lecturing the rest of us about our moral failings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
What is that?
They're not really lecturing us about our moral failings. They're lecturing us about being bad people as a result of not being in their cult. To them, morality doesn't exist. You are simply a bad person if you're not a part of the identitarian regime. This is the reason why they say things like the most virtuous people are immoral or the most competent men are losers. Because reality itself is their enemy, and competence, meritocracy, and individualism are an existential threat to identitarianism.
Well, I mean, part of how they deflect attention from themselves is by, criticizing the morals of others.
Yes.
So it's sort of like a preemptive moral strike.
Yes.
I mean, as I said, I think those who are saying...
And over time, this currency that they're dealing in has become so inflated that it's not operable anymore. People know that they're frauds, and they're not accepting it. They're no longer afraid.
Trump is a threat to democracy are themselves actually the threat to democracy.
Objectively.
It feels like we're getting to a place where the rest of us know too much. Is this... Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's easier to live in a society where you don't really...
Really what it is the average understanding of society was always similar, but people have become so openly corrupt now, desperate in their agenda to enslave humanity under the banner of total resentment, the spirit of Cain, that it is now just simply obvious that the left is anti-humanity, anti-objectivism, anti-truth, anti-justice, anti-merit, etc.
know what the people in charge are doing or why they're doing it. But now, thanks, I would say, largely to X,
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say that.
Yeah.
We do know a lot. Not everything, but we know a lot. And I wonder,
free speech, right?
That, like, what happens next now that we know all this? The kidnapper's shown us his face. Like, what happens?
Well, I think if Trump wins, we can do some house cleaning and shed light on things.
Truth, right. It's good versus evil, light versus darkness, truth versus unimaginable corruption.
Yeah, all the X platform does is adhere...
Wow, they are ultimately afraid of their utter corruption being exposed because in their life's work is demonstrated to be objectively incongruent with civilization and humanity, and they would never recover. The left would never recover for abiding in such wretched, heinous evil.
Those who want to push lies obviously hate truth and transparency.
Yes.
Because it shows them to be liars. I mean, you look at that, like how outrageous it was that Kamala in the presidential debate kept pushing the fine people hoax. They know the fine people hoax is false.
So true.
Trump would never support Nazis, a Nazi rally.
Yeah.
It's absurd. And he explicitly
And it was debunked 6 years ago.
said that in that same speech that you must condemn anyone who has Nazi tendencies with in the strongest possible terms. And yet...
And they still repeated that lie because truth isn't important to them. Only obfuscation, confusion, chaos. That's where their identitarianism can try to thrive because it can never compete directly with meritocracy, coherence, logic, reason, mental seriousness.
Despite knowing that to be false, the people who wrote the speech for the Kamala puppet put the fine people hoax in the presidential debate.
Right. A red herring to epic proportions.
Deliberately lying.
Right.
Again.
And the thing is this is very serious. Your average leftist, your average liberal even, knows that it's false but doesn't care because, again, they're commanded to not engage in ideas. They're commanded to instead follow lockstep in their party ideology. They know that it's fake. They know that the Russia thing is fake, but there are still actually the majority of liberals everywhere believe that Trump colluded with Russia, even though that was debunked. It doesn't matter that it was debunked as far as they're concerned because lockstep with their ideology is more important than truth.
If she wins, I mean, how can they let X continue in its current form, in its current role in American society?
They won't.
They will declare war with X, obviously, for free speech, but they will also declare war with Elon Musk for being the most impressive, competent man on the planet. But can't stand masculinity.
We'll try to shut it down by any means possible.
What do you mean by any means possible?
I mean, either by... they'll try to pass laws. They'll try to prosecute the company, prosecute me. The amount of lawfare that we're seeing taking place is outrageous.
Lawfare, right. We saw this first with Andrew Tate in Romania 3 years ago, and now Elon Musk is talking about it. They are, again, targeting the most impressive men on the planet. And also add Trump to that. The made-up cases where he was forced to pay like $400 million to a woman he's never met before, this is lawfare. They're targeting the most impressive men on the face of the planet, and it's obvious. If you understand what's going on, guys, leave a like on this video, comment, and share this video. This is so important.
There are many examples, but like the Department of Justice, for example, launched a huge lawsuit against SpaceX for failing to hire asylum seekers.
Come on.
Yeah,
Asylum seekers?
Asylum seekers, for example, launched a huge lawsuit against SpaceX for failing to hire asylum seekers.
This is not an SNL skit, dude. This is real.
Come on.
Yeah,
Asylum seekers?
Not asylum. Those who
This guy still has a backpack and dirt on his feet. Why won't you let him build your rockets?
granted asylum.
Are you a bigot?
Asylum seekers. Now there's also a law called International Traffic and Arms Regulations.
Well, we could try to explain to him how to build the rocket, but he doesn't speak English. And oh, that's not important. Pay him $150,000 a year with stock options. Or you're a bigot, haha.
Because SpaceX develops advanced missile technology that can be used in nuclear ICBMs, that we have to be very careful with who we hire. We can only hire someone if they're a permanent resident or citizen.
Elon discussed this with Jordan Peterson.
That's what the ITAR law says. Then there's another law that says
Right.
that you cannot discriminate against asylum seekers.
So two laws that say it is illegal to do the thing which the other one excludes. This is a reference to, of course, the endless levels of regulation and laws that they're trying to put on the books. There's no expiring date for these laws, and so they want to make everything illegal. They want to make action illegal because masculine competence embodies and acts out action to transform the world in a desirable way. Putting aside the desirability for a second because they don't believe in that, the fact that men take action is enraging to them. This is the reason why they demonize masculinity, and so they want to make any action, any movement impossible. This is also in their agenda to destroy America because they're driven by resentment for everything that America stands for, such as freedom, liberty, individualism, the locus for divinity, which explicitly states humans have intrinsic value.
So we're damned if you do, damned if you don't. The DOJ did a massive lawsuit against SpaceX for failing to hire asylum seekers, even though it is illegal for us to hire asylum seekers under ITAR law. This is an actual thing that's going on.
A clear total disinterest with justice, but instead the statement, this person is the wrong type of person, and therefore they're guilty. This is existentially dangerous, but it is fitting perfectly with their ideology of identitarianism based on resentment.
Fairly small number of lawsuits every year. So why did they pick this one?
Because you
Lawfare.
max.
Yeah, lawfare.
There are, I believe this and I know this, that there are a select few number of people in these government agencies which are driven mad and furious by Elon Musk's impressiveness, because these people in the positions of power in the government think that they should be top dog. They think that they should be considered the most impressive men in the world. You know, while they make, $200,000 a year for the government with, a pension, and then they see Elon Musk in the private sector eviscerating them. And then they get upset because, oh my gosh, young men look up to this guy, not me. Oh my gosh, it's enraging. I better sue him. This is what Mark Cuban wants to do. He's a billionaire, but he's furious that young men don't want to be like him and want to be like Elon. And Elon's providing free speech, and Mark Cuban literally laments free speech every single day.
I mean,
well, it's like that famous quote from Beria, Stalin's chief torturer and head of the
Right. It's find me the man, I'll find you the crime.
secret police. Beria said, "Show me the man, and I'll show you the crime."
exactly.
I mean, we have so many laws that it is actually impossible to, impossible to do business, impossible to operate without being violating some law, because you have laws like the ones I just gave you, where both things are illegal.
Yes, they contradict one another.
They contradict one another.
I want to take note that Carlson is not talking over Trump. He's not talking a lot. He's doing this purely Socratically. And so it's very bizarre to see. I mean, this was probably taken down because Carlson's in the video and because of what they're discussing. Every other interview of Elon is still on YouTube. His conversation with Peterson, I believe, is on YouTube. And he talks about many of these same topics. What they find enraging is, again, the identity of their enemy. The wrong type of person. These people are evil. Yeah, that covers it. Evil.
So it's illegal to discriminate against asylum seekers in jobs, but it's also illegal for us to hire asylum seekers.
But it
So they
discredits
just
the
they
law.
just chose one. They chose the one law and ignored the other one. And the Department of Justice at federal level prosecuted SpaceX for that.
Is it just me, or is Elon speaking kind of slowly?
What do you think?
It's mad.
Well, it also discredits the idea of law, which some of us
Yes.
want to take seriously.
Right, as a reflection of justice, embodying coherence, referencing objective morality.
Absolutely. This affects both the perception of American justice and the reality of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Deliberately trying to diminish it, pervert it.
no, I'm actually a big fan of the American justice system, and I think on balance, we've got still have an excellent judicial system.
All of that will be gone in the next 2 decades as those judges pass away. But the problem is that they're not going to be replaced by people who are, budding young intellects who want to make society orderly and just. Instead, they'll be replaced by activists with gender studies degrees, because who really cares about justice if it reflects anything like objectivism? It should be made justice should be made in the image of identitarianism, victimhood, and the woke cult.
We still have judges that care about the letter and intent of the law. But something that people should be concerned about is that there's an increasing movement to place activists as judges. Biden administration confirmed as federal judges, and who've been confirmed at the state level in
Definitionally DEI hires.
sort of followed states. Increasingly, it is not judges who.
It's so perverse. Judges ruling on the skin color of people. It's so eerie. It's so horrible to say, but that's who they are. That's who we're battling.
Care about justice, or they don't care about
Their ideology, which is obsessed with race and gender.
following the law. They care about social justice, not justice.
Right.
What they call social justice. Activists as judges. Now you got a real problem.
I could not imagine what it would be like, because I luckily have not experienced this, but to go to court in California as a white man. Oh my gosh.
Do you think
You're not only guilty when you walk in, but you're also the enemy of their worldview.
if
You walk in and you're Darth Vader. You walk in and you're the goblins from Lord of the Rings. You walk in and you're a Death Eater from Harry Potter. Think about that.
It continues. We will not have a real justice system.
or a real country?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
But I think part of why this election is so pivotal, I think if we, with the Trump administration, I think we can improve the liberty of Americans. We can, I think we need to have set.
I'm laughing because the left disagrees with that on every presuppositional substrate you could fathom. They don't believe in America. They don't believe in an individual. They don't believe in justice. They don't believe in categories of better and worse. They don't believe that liberty should exist because liberty imputes individualism, which is requiring and deserving of justice, coherent subjectivism, postmodern neo-Marxism. It denounces all of those things. So it isn't just that they're opposed to justice and liberty. They're opposed to the constituents of those things.
Sensible deregulation, where we keep the regulations that matter. Like we don't want to destroy, important habitats or
Yes.
Encourage oil spills or anything like that. But there are so many regulatory agencies that have overlapping responsibility that we are smothering progress. High-speed rail project in California, section of concrete, $7 billion, and all they've got to show for it is a 1,600-foot section of concrete.
That fast yet. We wouldn't say it's high speed at this point, or even rail.
It doesn't even have rail in it. Maybe by now they put some rail in it, and most of it in like environmental consulting. And we've got. There are so many different regulatory agencies and so many laws and regulations that prevent progress that if this continues, we simply won't be able to get anything done.
There's so many regulatory agencies and consultancies which are required to do things in California that it's really like a bunch of shrines that you have to bow to, a bunch of altars that you have to sacrifice your capital and your mental energy and your progress to do anything. That's what it is. They're shrines, they're altars.
It does
Both, I mean, practically as well as psychologically, that's what they are.
seem like the engineers are not getting rich. It's the environmental consultants.
Exactly.
The client of the year, or the DEI consultants. A whole consultant class seems to be getting richer by the year, or people with actual skills, the ones that bring...
Right, because the capital has to mirror the counterfeit virtue of their ideology. Otherwise, people will be like, oh, well, why am I poor and engineers are becoming wealthy? Of course, it's not how it is in Texas, but that's how it is in California.
actual progress.
Useful things, products and services that you
Useful
can
things,
use.
that's right.
Yeah.
So this is a trend.
Things that if you were like traveling on a desert island, you'd want those people.
Right.
But you wouldn't want environmental consultants.
They seem undercompensated,
It's like you're gonna starve.
though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's like who are actual builders at get things done, and every year we're making it harder in America for actual builders to get things done.
Why the hostility, though, toward people with meaningful skills? It's not a neutral posture they have.
Yeah.
I mean, they're enriching themselves obviously by creating fake jobs because they have no skills, and they don't have creative power. So I understand that. But why do they hate people who do have creative power and actual skills? I don't understand that.
I'm not sure I understand it either, because
The answer is the spirit of Cain. They're possessed by ultimate resentment for reality, objectivism, logic, merit, justice, individualism, mental coherence, free speech, liberty, and meritocracy. All things that reference an objective understanding derivative of reality itself, instead of the postmodern neo-Marxist ideology which governs the left.
it's difficult for me to put myself in a mindset, because I'm someone who believes in construction. I build things. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I build cars. I build rockets. I build satellite internet. I've spent thousands of hours, tens of thousands of hours in factories, building up factories.
Right. He's so used to being useful and competent that he can't relate to the loser, troll demons on X that say he's a loser. So it is difficult to relate to those people, but I understand because I've studied Marxism what's going on.
I can't really put myself in the mind of say someone who would want to do crime, because I don't want to do crime.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt. There's some people who enjoy hurting other people. I don't enjoy hurting other people. So I have a hard time imagining why would somebody do that.
Yes.
In the sort of well-meaning sort of liberal mindset. I know I've many
They're
good
no longer well-meaning.
friends who have.
They've sacrificed too much on the altar of the ideology of the left. That's the reason they're not well-meaning. You are complicit in an ideology which wrecks civilization and destroys the state that you live in, to take California as an example, if you just remain silent. Cowardice is being complicit in the death cult ideology. This is the reason why SS guards were prosecuted in the Nuremberg trials, even when all they did was just stand by.
They have deep empathy for their fellow human beings.
Good.
And they care. And
It is counterfeit empathy. They don't actually care about the seriously anti-human aspects of their ideology being implemented and the damage that it does. To reference the destruction of blue cities, reducing them into crime-ridden areas where crime itself is not even prevented. They don't have empathy.
but the challenge that they have is that they've.
It's very interesting to see that the end conclusion of radical, endless empathy is no empathy. It defeats itself. Very interesting property there. I just realized that.
Often grown up in a very sheltered existence, where everyone around them is nice and civilized, and they just really don't encounter people who are have
Right.
uncontrolled violent tendencies, or like hurting people. They've just always grown up in a sort of kumbaya.
Right. This is how you see liberal women say things like, "Why do we need an army? Why do we need men to protect society? Why do we need borders, etc." Their psyches just simply don't comprehend what the world actually is.
Yeah.
Everyone is nice. Hippie commune situation.
Minneapolis pre-riots. Yeah.
It's like a few percent of society that either can't have anger management issues that are so severe
Right.
that they lose their temper and hurt or murder others.
Right, people that are high in trait neuroticism as well as high in disagreeability, they occupy the prisons like crazy, and most of them are men. So these people should be removed from society, but the left sees that as discriminating between categories of existence, which is, of course, is untenable, and so they'd rather sacrifice their society on the altar of, oh my gosh, we can't discriminate between people who commit crimes and are violent and those who don't.
And there's
Also, of course, in the implementation of that, so to speak, discrimination, you have police officers which have to embody masculinity and enforce borders and parameters and all things that reference reality, as masculinity is an apparatus for embodying reality. So they find that enraging as well because they demonize masculinity, given that they demonize reality.
it's very small. It's like I said, it's not a large number that enjoy hurting other people. And if you do not incarcerate them,
Right, the psychopaths.
they will do that. They will hurt other people. And what I see is what I call.
They don't view theft as hurting people. Because as far as they're concerned, theft against capitalism is taking down an oppressive system which judges them as being losers. So as far as they're concerned, the real damage done to society is just working against their identitarian cult. That's what they consider untenable.
And what I see is what I call shallow empathy. Like people have empathy for the criminals, but not empathy for the victims of the criminals.
That's how you know it's not empathy, because it's made in the image, the architecture of their ideology, not reality.
Yes.
And so if you simply have
Objective morality is derivative of reality, not an ideology, of reality itself. This is the basis of reason. This is the basis of all Western civilizations of human rights.
And I believe one should have deep empathy to say, like, what is the greater good for society?
Right.
Is it better to
Takes a
incarcerate?
high IQ, and I'll be honest, masculine mind most of the time to even get to that level of analysis, which is the reason why these people that say, people on the right are not empathetic or compassionate, they're just low IQ, and they have never thought about problems in sufficient depth.
Violent criminals and prevent them from hurting people, or to let them loose and allow those people to be hurt. And I think the latter is much worse. My mom lives in New York, and it's my mom at this point has gone from being Democrat to Republican, and her friends in New York.
And that takes a lot for a woman, because women are naturally more agreeable and less interfaced individually with reality.
For having the same experience, because you know what'll turn you from a Democrat to a Republican pretty fast is getting punched in the face while you walk down the street.
Yes. For no reason.
Yes, and then no action being taken against those who hurt you.
Right, because action again denotes a distinction between evil, good, right, wrong.
And that happened to your mom?
And that invalidates the cult, obviously.
Not to my mother, but to 3 of her friends this year.
Why would someone punch them in the face?
I don't know. But
Are they women?
I'm not a face puncher.
Right, no.
But if you walk around the streets of San Francisco and
People can be driven mad by resentment for civilization, and resentment for civilization can take many facets. So this is an example would be people being enraged with golden skyscrapers, and then standing outside golden skyscrapers with a certain name on it and saying the person who owns this golden skyscraper is a loser, while they prove that they're unemployed while standing outside of a golden skyscraper. So resentment for civilization can exist on almost any level, and the result of that can be insanity.
and many downtowns, so they go to downtown Philadelphia right now, they call the people homeless, but the homeless is the wrong term. Violent drug zombie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It's like, you look at them, you say, like, homeless is a misnomer. It implies that someone got a little behind on their mortgage.
Right.
and if you just offered them a job, they'd be back on their feet.
Yeah.
No, but if you go and look at downtown Philly or San Francisco or parts of New York, and actually most downtowns, what you actually have are violent drug zombies. So they're like shuffling down the street with dead eyes, and with like needles, on this, and human feces on the street.
This is what they created in leftist cities in the guise of compassion.
You've been to downtown SF, right? Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah, I was born there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Oh, yes, the greatest.
And now you have to step over the drug needles and the feces and the bodies. Like one couple I met, the
Conservatives let leftists have these cities, and still they ruin them.
final straw for leaving San Francisco was they came home one night and there was a dead body in front of their garage. They couldn't get their car in, couldn't park their car.
Because of the corpse.
And yeah, there's no street parking. They're like, because there's a corpse in front of the garage, and they don't want to move the corpse, because like.
Could you imagine having kids and facing this problem?
Well,
Because you can't move the body yourself, otherwise you could be interfering with crime scene evidence or whatever.
You like maybe they need to like figure out why the guy died or something,
That's the faith. That's liberal compassion, though.
They're in a bit of a quandary because they got no place to park a car, and they feel that they shouldn't really move the dead body. So they called 911 and said, "There's a dead body outside our house."
Wow.
They said, "Well," the 911 San Francisco says, "Well, are you in danger right now?" It's like, "Well, no, he's dead." He's pretty sure he's dead.
Gosh. That's insane.
And they're like, "Okay, we'll send someone tomorrow to pick up the body." Like, what do you mean?
Dude, okay, let me get this straight. In San Francisco, you call and say there's a dead body on my property in front of my house, and they don't even show up until the next day. This is like third world. No, it's worse than third world. I think even third world countries have police that show up the same day for like a murder. Like, I mean, they don't know if it's a murder or whatnot. That's so crazy.
I mean, tomorrow. So
Bad.
So they're like going in and out of their house while there's a dead body in front, right in front of their
Sometimes it takes these manifestations of total insanity for liberals to realize that they've been duped, though.
house. And like it's
Of course, there are many that are just beyond help. Many that have had their minds too ravaged, too broken.
like took them like 24 hours.
Because the thing is anything that reminds them that they're wrong and that would normally result in a jump start of their sanity and send them down a path of inquisitive learning where they realize that they've been duped and are possessed by an ideology which hates humanity and hates intellectualism and truth and all the rest of it. Instead, what they do is they get enraged when that happens. They say, I'm a victim, I'm being oppressed by reality, this is toxic because I'm being reminded that I'm wrong, I'm a victim. And then they just further disintegrate. They further practice telling themselves lies, which of course ruins the psyche.
Something like that to eventually pick up the body. And they're like, the hell with this, we're leaving.
And did they?
Yes. By the way, there's a million anecdotes like that.
Oh, I know. But I just don't think
this is not rare.
it's it's ubiquitous, and so then you wonder, like, how can people still tell themselves they're compassionate if
This is
they're
what I'm
allowing
saying
that?
is that
Their ideology doesn't tether themselves to the difficulties of truth and sense making. Instead, it's just identitarianism.
is that people really just need to think I believe in being compassionate about
Of course.
society. I believe that we should care about our fellow human beings. I think this is a good thing.
Of course,
We should not be selfish and not care about others. We should care about others, but we should just care about others, all things considered.
Yeah, given essentially the objective view of reality, it's people who war against reality versus those who embody it. It's so evident.
Like I said, care not merely just about the criminals. It's just one layer deep. You should also care about the criminals' victims.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they don't even care about the criminals because they're not helping the criminals. Instead, they're just saying, continue to be whatever you want because whatever you claim to be and whatever you want to be is fine. There's no better and worse ways of even organizing yourself or being, because then we would have to distinguish between better and worse, and then we'd have to use the mechanisms that reveal those conditions of better and worse, like logic and objective morality, etc.
Well, especially the criminals' victims.
Yes, innocent people who get attacked and killed. So I mean, Twitter employees who were just leaving the building and walking down Mark Street in San Francisco. Mark Street used to be a beautiful, wonderful street.
Of course.
Obviously, it's called Market Street because that's where the market was.
Right.
Now it's boarded up shop windows and stuff, and they were chased by a guy with an axe who wanted.
In downtown San Francisco.
They outran him, and they reported, "Hey, there's a guy with an axe who tried to kill us."
And let me guess, the police didn't do anything. Reporting a literal axe murder in downtown. Think about that. A first world city. You call and say, there's an axe murderer here. And the police don't do anything.
With an axe. The police did nothing.
Oh my gosh. Dude.
And that guy with an axe subsequently murdered 2 people.
Oh my God.
With an axe?
With the axe.
The left is not compassionate. The left is broken and ruined.
Because eventually he's going to find somebody he can outrun. And he did. So what I'm saying is, if you don't stop axe murderers...
We are dealing with pure evil generated by degenerate female psyches. The only opposition to this would be an incoherent, low IQ, low verbal IQ objection by a female which views reality as oppressive. And I've talked to these people, which is the reason why I know exactly how it would go. These people that are trying to degrade civilization are doing it in the image of their resentment for coherence and objective reality. I've talked to liberal women who have said the reason why rich people are getting robbed in these cities is their fault for having nice things. They've said that directly to me.
While they're attempting to axe murder, eventually they will succeed in axe murdering people.
It's a mind virus.
If this goes on, I mean, that's such an obvious observation.
It seems obvious.
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah.
That if you're in any way abetting axe murder, then you're against civilization. That's the way it looks to me. I mean,
Correct.
I don't see...
It is light versus darkness. These people are possessed by the spirit of Cain, which is evil.
I'm trying to understand motive here. I can't relate like you. But you're against the whole project.
By the way, when I say the spirit of Cain, guys, I'm referencing Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were biblically the descendants of Adam and Eve, their children, and Cain murdered Abel for the resentment he had against his brother because his brother was favored by God as a result of conducting proper sacrifices and conducting himself properly in God's eyes. And Cain was so enraged by this that it was the first story of resentment ever in humanity, biblically. And so this is what I'm referencing, is the original spirit of resentment when I say the spirit of Cain.
If you're allowing that, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And so that spread, obviously, from the resentment from brother to brother to broken human psyche to civilization.
I think we should, a controversial position, but I think we should arrest axe murderers when they first attempt to
That is controversial to the left. That is controversial.
murder, not after they've succeeded in doing so.
And I think we should assign at least some of the blame for the axe murders to the people who allowed this guy to wander around with an axe on Market Street trying to kill people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this
The left. So there are very powerful leftist billionaires that have put in place judges and prosecutors that will not put axe murderers in jail and have set precedent of we will not exercise laws because they reference better and worse. But what this shows is that these people are willing to sacrifice anything, including humanity, on the altar of their ideology. This goes back to child sacrifice. This goes back to sacrifices of primitive societies because they have to appease the gods in the sky. Now the gods are the woke mind virus. Now it's the ethos of postmodern neo-Marxism.
whole movement to decriminalize crime.
Oh, I've noticed, yes. What is that?
Madness.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
war on objective parameters, guys.
to make
I've explained this.
crime legal, like in California, you can just steal things and nobody does
If it's less than $1,500 worth, you won't be prosecuted.
anything. It's like fully legal to steal anything under $1,000 in California. That's why they don't
Right.
have to like lock up goods behind.
That's why the only businesses that are left in California are the basically massive megalithic tech companies where you can't walk in and steal something because what are you going to do? Walk into like Microsoft headquarters and be like, "Excuse me, I'm going to steal your IP." But every other company is going out of business as a result of this. Target is locking up this like deodorant. I can't order Tide Pods online because it's crazy.
behind these glass and plastic walls. So you go to the supermarket and you can't even get toothpaste. So
And then what's crazy is the left, this is bizarre and absurd, the left gets upset at the corporations for locking up toothbrushes and toothpaste rather than the criminals for breaking the law and stealing things that resulted in that happening. These people are mentally broken.
and this has actually been particularly difficult on small mom and pop operations because they don't have the resources of
But
a large
even if it's Target, it's still wrong,
corporation. So it's put a lot of small businesses out of just.
So when you're at dinner parties and you make these points, what do people say?
Well,
Right. Do they exhibit this zombification of their broken psyches or not?
actually, I think I've been able to persuade people that we really.
There are people in California that know that it's broken. There's also a lot of people in Texas. He spends a lot of time in Texas now.
We need to reverse course here. I think I have actually been able to persuade a number of people, and I think there actually is now a California ballot initiative to recriminalize
Theft.
Theft. No, guys, there's a reason why we criminalize theft in the first place.
In California,
So-
they're trying to recriminalize theft. It sounds like a certain chapter in the Bible, guys. And I'm not saying that we're there, but I am saying that we are dealing with objective evil because it is anti-civilizational. It's an anti-civilizational agenda when you have people legalizing crime. It's a scene out of the Joker movie,
So,
which of course was a story about ultimate resentment. There's the resentment again.
and then amazingly, I think Gavin Newsom came out against that.
He came out against it because the people that stand for the correction of the no prosecution for crime policy those people are enraging to Gavin Newsom because they are reminders that he is incompetent. And so it's basically like a very egotistical, resentful, degenerate woman being corrected, but rather than taking the correction and making her life better, she decides to spite her own nose on her face and continue being the way that she is because embodying reality and improving would be giving into the patriarchy, would be giving into that which judges her. And so Gavin Newsom would rather keep crime legal than admit he was wrong and that others judged him coherently for being wrong.
Proposition. Yeah, no. Honestly, he's the goddamn Joker. Gavin Newsom is like from the Batman Dark Knight. The Joker is in charge of Gotham. You remember when he took over New York, basically. And the criminals run free and the citizens are arrested. That's California.
The inversion of truth, the inversion of reality, that is definitionally evil, guys. Archetypally, that is Satan.
But at least there's a ballot in it.
That's the left's agenda. Again, they're warring with reality for very understandable reasons. not understandable from the sense that it's justified, because it's far from it. But postmodern neo-Marxism literally says that objectivism in truth is oppression and patriarchal, because they have a one-dimensional analysis which says everything is only power disparities. They don't believe in merit. They don't believe in logic, because those things judge them as being freakish losers.
Initiative, which I think will probably pass, to say, no, actually, it is a crime to steal things.
And he doesn't seem crazy when you talk to him in person. He's a perfectly nice guy. Like, what?
I just
Why
explained that.
would he, and he's not stupid, why would he come out in favor of crime?
Well, his stated reason was that it would disproportionately affect people of color.
Wow, that is such a racist position by Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, well, again...
That was his public statement.
Right. Well, that is one of those patronizing racist positions you described at the outset, obviously.
Classic leftism. A virus.
Well, I mean, there's always the Soros boogeyman.
Yeah. How real is that?
It's real. I don't think one can ascribe everything to Soros.
Right.
I mean,
I agree.
he's and George himself is I mean, he's senile at this point. He's not compos mentis. So his son Alex is in charge, but there is this whole system that Soros built up over many decades.
Again, in the image of degeneracy, right? The labors of Cain.
You know, and
Resentment, as well as degeneracy.
So it's I guess Soros and like-minded people, whatever. They believe in open borders. They believe we shouldn't prosecute crime.
The war on category, the war on objectivism. That's the common thread there. Borders, crime.
This is insane.
Those seem like expressions of hatred toward the United States. Like, if I was pushing that on a country, I would only do that if I hated the country and wanted to destroy it.
Well, it's anti-civilizational. I mean,
Dude, the left. Okay. We have the most competent men on the face of the planet saying that the left is anti-civilizational. And we have them censoring speech. We have them saying the opposite of the truth. We have them demonizing category and meritocracy and logic, promising the decimation of free speech, censorship, identitarianism. It has never been clearer who the good guys are. This is a move. I'm so grateful to be alive at this time to witness it, to play a small role in evangelizing people against this death cult.
Soros and similar organizations have been pushing this in Europe and other countries too.
Yeah.
Everywhere they can.
So maybe they want the collapse of countries so they can make one world government, maybe?
What's going on in Europe, would you say? Europe suddenly...
They're trying to destroy countries by inverting truth, by saying crime is legal and censoring people, destroying people's lives, as well as societies. Maybe they want to build something after societies crumbled to dust.
Seems like a different place.
Well...
maybe a new city. Maybe they want to build a new city in the image of their ultimate resentment. The resentment of Cain, perhaps?
I mean, my biggest concern for Europe is that their birth rate is half replacement rate.
Yes.
So Europe is rapidly becoming, with each passing year.
And it's, okay, I'm gonna say right now, it is bizarre to see how many young women are petrified of having children because of propaganda.
Older and older.
I've seen it.
With fewer and fewer young
firsthand.
people. So I think at a most fundamental level, unless Europe has a birth rate at least roughly equal to replacement rate, it is in population freefall. Population collapse is what's going on in Europe. There's also like a shocking amount of censorship. You may have seen like in Britain, I kid you not, how can this be real? They are releasing convicted pedophiles from prison.
It's true.
In order to put people in prison.
And they're trying to censor this story in England. But of course, that just makes it go more viral online.
For Facebook posts.
Right, Facebook posts calling out violent migrant crime in England.
But to be fair,
is a
those
real
are
thing.
posts that criticize the government, so they have a good reason.
Well, they were actually... some of these posts that at least the ones I've seen, didn't actually criticize the government, or they were seen as sort of as hate speech.
Right.
Right, and so we should put them in jail, right?
So
because they noticed the society getting crappier and crappier with every year, and they said so.
And then they were locked up.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you see why YouTube is trying to censor this?
There were, and I'm simply stating a fact, there were gangs in
Yes.
England that would run around and pray.
Okay, I think that it's really horrifying that leftists will deny stuff like this, given that they pretend to be on the side of victims of situations like this. They should be they should be rallying day and night for these women that are victims of what he just described, and instead they're rallying against the people calling it out because, again, they're at war with objective category, merit, virtue, and justice. Very disturbing to see. I can't imagine how much more disturbing it's going to get before the election. We already have people calling for the deportation of people like Elon instead of the deportation of people like those he just described.
On young girls, gang rape them, and some people found that objectionable, which obviously it should be objectionable, and they were upset about that, and so they complained about it online, and were sent to prison. That sounds crazy.
So it is crazy, and that's like,
what?
well, it is. So it kind of gets to the. I mean, you're an engineer, so you're.
It's so
looking at this
mind-blowing.
It is mind-boggling, but it's the same. You use the phrase "mind virus," but it's behaving like a virus. It's infecting people and making it impossible, apparently, for them to make rational decisions.
Yeah.
What is that virus?
You know, someone I think you should interview is
The spirit of Cain.
God's side.
It's hatred for humanity.
Yeah. I have.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Oh, I should watch that, actually. He's great.
Yeah, smart.
Super smart guy.
Yeah.
God's very smart. I don't think he has all the answers, though. This was evident on Broken.
For most people, they need something to fill that void. And so they adopt a religion. It's not called a religion, but effectively like woke, the woke mind virus. It takes the place of religion.
Right. Allegiance to all that I described, resentment for reality ultimately, and humanity, civilization, justice, merit. List goes on.
Yes.
And they internalize it and they feel it with religious fervor.
Yes.
More like religious desperation, given that they know deeply that what they believe is wrong and incongruent with reality, whereas religion is congruent with reality.
And rigidity.
Yes.
Right, the rigidity of fear. Yeah.
You know, they essentially conduct like a holy war, effectively. It's just not called a religion, but it is a religion.
And there is a clear, desperate tenor in all of their activities, as if they know that they're wrong and they have limited time. That's very interesting.
Sort of a woke holy war. And they're highly resistant to change, as is normal for religions. So the AIs that are being developed is that they're being programmed with the woke mind virus.
So the lying is baked in.
Yes.
Yeah, this demonstrates in my mind the clear objective nature of the human psyche's ability to transform the world. So they are programming at Google and Microsoft as well, but especially Google, OpenAI as well, their AI to reflect the same censorship that has censored this video on YouTube.
And we saw this on display very clearly with the release of Google Gemini.
Yes.
Where you would ask for a picture of the founding fathers of the United States, and it would show a group of diverse women, but dressed with sort of 18th.
I've seen that image, and there is something very juvenile, something very gleeful and celebratory in the rejection of reality about that. And it's absolutely clear that it is representative of the degenerate feminine archetype to say reality can be made in any way that I want. Haha, it doesn't matter. Look, I'm going to create an image of the founding fathers as a bunch of Indian and black women because reality can be whatever I want it to be in the image of my ideology. This is a thoroughly degenerate ideology, a broken way of viewing the world, but it is a leftist way of viewing the world.
Century God.
Powdered wigs.
Yeah.
But from St. Lucia.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand if you say, show me a group of people.
For sure.
And it shows a group of diverse women, that's totally fine. But if you say very specifically the founding fathers of the United States, which were, a group of white dudes, then
that's an objective fact. That is a historical fact, but they can't say it objectivism.
You should show them, and what they actually look like, because you've asked for something which is a fact from.
So that is proof of the woke mind virus
history
in AI.
But it didn't. It was programmed with the woke mind virus so much that it actually, even though it knew the truth, it produced a lie.
Right, because lying is only a lie if objective reality exists. If objective reality doesn't exist and is merely a construct of the patriarchy, then what are you really doing? You're just serving the ideology. Lying doesn't exist. It's the reason why we see them saying the opposite of the truth without having shame so often. This is the reason why the writers of Kamala Harris wrote the lie about the good person on both sides statement. They didn't care about truth because truth is oppression to them.
Now, of course, then people really started playing with it and said, okay, now show me a group of Waffen SS officers in World War II. Turns out they were also a group of divorced women, according to Gemini. So, you know.
Well, it's also not what happened.
It's not what happened. So it's just, the AI is
Trying to rewrite history in the image of the woke mind virus.
producing a lie.
That's what it is.
And
We are battling the forces of darkness, guys. This is the most important interview, maybe of the century. It's top 5 for sure. I'm going to get this analysis out to you guys as soon as possible. Subscribe to the channel if you're watching this, and follow me on X as well.